No. And, I'm so sick of the arguments. Well, look what happened to John Gray. That's all I've gotten from people on social media. Yeah, let's be honest. John Gray never struck out batters in college, and go look at his strikeout rates in the minors. They're not great. Gray is a talented arm, but also John Gray was drafted high. That was it. Okay. The Rockies also have drafted a ton of pitchers high. Like Gabriel Hughes was top 10. Like there's a long list of guys they've drafted. Riley Pine. I don't really care about his draft slot. The pitch data, there's not anything remotely close when I'm comparing Chase Dollander and John Gray, just what we're looking at. So I think that Chase Dollander is the best pitcher that Coors is seen in my life, at least going back for a long time. Like before I took baseball that seriously, like, I don't know. I can't think of the last pitcher. Like John Gray, obviously he was drafted 10 years ago, probably, maybe before that. I don't remember. I think he debuted in 2016. So like he was probably drafted before that. So here's why I think that Chase Dollander will succeed in Coors. So Coors is a known BABIP booster. Like we know that. It's big gaps in the outfield. But look at the Rockies outfield right now. It's actually really good. Like they've got some guys that are going to cover some serious ground out there at every spot. I mean, we're talking guys that are going to track down balls that are going to benefit pitchers significantly. We also know that Coors Field is going to basically cause pitches to drop more. So I've been trying to calculate, like, with Dollander's pitch data, like, what does the shape look like in Coors? So, like, this year, Dollander averaged, 16 inches of IVB, which you may hear that raw number and be like, okay, like, that's not great. But Dollander had a incredible, like, one of the flattest four-seamers in the game. It was a -4 VAA, just a little bit flatter than Bubba Chandler's. He throws from a 5'5" release height. And if you've noticed something, the Rockies now are drafting a lot of lower slot pitchers, which I think is interesting. It's kind of like maybe they think they're going to figure it out a little bit something here. And you may laugh, the Rockies figure out something, whatever. But what makes Dollander so unique is that I think his fastball does play. So sure, we're going to see the fastball drop. It's going to be, I think it's going to play with 14.5 to 15 inches of vert at home. That's not great, but when you're factoring in his release point, when you're factoring in the VAA, and you're factoring in that he throws at 96, 97, all of a sudden I think it's a pretty good pitch. He threw his fastball 1,200 times last year. I understand it wasn't in Coors. He had a 21% swinging strike rate on it. Only 4 pitchers who threw their fastballs at least 500 times in the minors had a swinging strike rate that high. Every pitcher that had a higher swinging strike rate was a reliever, and they weren't remotely close in terms of total pitches. 1,200 total fastballs last year, 21% swinging strike rate. Fastball is elite. So, obviously, we've got that out of the way. I think the fastball will play in Coors. It's going to play exceptional away from Coors. The curveball, I think that it only helps that pitch, honestly. And you say, okay, well, what about location? Here's the problem with Coors, I'd say. With the movement aspects, pitchers just aren't really sure where to aim. I think that's the biggest thing is okay, where am I aiming this pitch? Because I don't know where it's actually going to land, just given the difference in movement. So Dollander's interesting in the sense of if you've heard him talk about pitching, he actually is I'm just kind of a guy that throws it down the middle and lets it do its thing. And maybe that sounds absurd, but I think that from a little bit of that standpoint, it can work. He's obviously going to have to aim a little bit higher, I think, with the fastball. He may have to aim the fastball above the zone, and it winds up at the top of the zone. Aside the point, the curveball is going to play well with the drop. It's a beautiful two-plane type pitch. Good drop on it, good depth, high spin rates, it's upper 70s. He throws a slider cutter as well in the 88 range, which, it can touch 90. I actually think that pitch will play exceptionally well in Coors. I've been trying to break down, what will this look like? And I think that it's going to be a solid pitch. He doesn't throw his changeup all that often. It's going to kill the horizontal on his changeup, probably 4 to 5 inches. He doesn't throw it enough for it to matter. But when he has thrown it, up to 20 inches of fade. So if he does further evolve that pitch, Okay, now we're looking at being 20 inches of fade all the way down to like, if it's 15 to 14, whatever. He doesn't throw enough for it to matter. But I do think that you look at the kind of movement profiles that can work in Coors, you look at the kind of arm slots that can work in Coors, and you look at the fastball, how good it is, and I think it works. I think Dollander is going to beat Coors Field. Now, what does that look like? I think that Dollander's great seasons may be 3.4 to 3.5 ERA. I mean, shoot, we saw German Marquez have sub 3 ERAs before. So I would not be shocked if Dollander put up seasons like that. I mean, just being honest, I think that Dollander is good enough to have that kind of season because the talent level is there. The arm talent is there. The arsenal is there. Dollander's a special arm. And I think that, honestly, it's a bit overblown, the Coors effect on him. And yes, it's an effect, 100% going to matter. I'm telling you, when you factor in what he does, you factor in that young outfield is athletic and rangy and going to cover some serious ground. They may have the best center fielder in the game in Brenton Doyle out there, and they've got 2 guys on the corner that can cover some serious ground too. Nolan Jones can move. They're going to have Jordan Beck out there that can move. Sam Hilliard, crazy enough, is good in the field. I think that it's going to help those pitchers run lower BABIPs than we're used to from Colorado arms at home. So all that to say, like, I think Dollander also pitches 100+ in the majors, like you said. They actually have talked about they will give him a chance to win a spot out of spring training. So it's a real possibility. I'm not saying it's likely, but I'd bank on 100 innings, if not more. And I think that Chase Dollander's elite.